I will fight every step of the way. That is what Beth Chapman said in regards to her cancer diagnosis in 2017 to E! News. First, let's learn some interesting facts about Beth Chapman. Alice Elizabeth Smith was born October 29, 1967. Beth Chapman's father was named Gary Smith, who was a AAA baseball player for the Kansas City Athletics. Beth was one of 5 children to Gary. Beth was born and raised in Denver, Colorado. Beth was the youngest licensed bail bondsman in Denver, Colorado at the young age of 29. This was later broken by her stepdaughter, Lissa Chapman, at the age of 19. From day one, Beth fought for Dwayne's love, and it was not easy. They met in 1988. They met as a result of Beth being at the grocery store with an unlicensed, unregistered gun that was her boyfriend's. The clerks at the grocery store had thought that Beth was trying to steal, which she was not, but what didn't help is that she had many unpaid parking tickets, so she was arrested that day. Beth called her father to bail her out. However, her father did not want to bail her out. He told her to call Dwayne Chapman. Beth did just that. She called Dwayne to have him come and bail her out. However, she still sat in the jail for 12 hours. This extremely upset Beth. So Dwayne needed Beth to come into his office to complete paperwork, and she continued to blow him off and would not go into his office until he finally threatened to have her thrown back in jail. And so, with that being said, Beth didn't want to end up back in jail, so she went to Dwayne's office to fill out paperwork. As soon as Dwayne walked out and she laid eyes on him, she fell in love. In fact, there was an instant attraction between both of them. Dog at the time was married to his third wife, who was Alyssa Ray Britton. And Dog, being 35, had children. Beth decided she was going to fight for Dwayne anyway. None of that bothered her. In fact, Beth stalked Dwayne so much that she went to a dealership that was local, and she took a car on a test drive. Well, she went on an extended test drive and ended up having that car for so long, but that dealership called the cops and reported that car stolen. This landed Beth in jail for 6 months in Jefferson County. But while she was in jail, Beth's compassionate heart sent all of those criminals to Dwayne for bail. Dwayne says that she ended up making him the most money because of that. When Beth finally was released from jail, Dwayne had divorced and was now seeing his secretary, Tawny Marie. So their relationship did not start there. Beth ended up marrying her first husband, Keith Barmore, which was bad from the start, as well as Tawny and Dog's marriage as well. Eventually, both of them divorced, and in 1995, Dog and Beth ended up together, finally. The fight that Beth had been fighting for so long finally paid off. She had Dog. Dog and Beth eventually married in 2006, had 2 children. However, this is not the only fight that Beth had been through in her life. In 2017, Beth was having trouble with a cough, and she ended up going in to seek a professional opinion, and was found to have a lump the size of a plum in her throat, which ended up being stage 2 lung cancer. Once again, Beth was in for another fight for her life. She underwent a 12-hour grueling surgery of where they got the cancer, and she was in remission. This was wonderful. Dog and Beth's love story could continue on, but only for a short time. In 2018, Beth ended up ill yet once again and went back to the doctor. She had the mass back in her throat, but it was double the size as it was the first time. And they found another lump, which was in her lung. At that time, Beth was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Dwayne was devastated, as was Beth's entire family. Beth told everyone that she would fight for her family because she knew that they needed her so much. And that is just what Beth did. Beth was very strong-willed and a fighter, and I admire that about Beth. When I think about how I am like Beth and how we relate to each other and why I admire her strong willingness. I admire her compassion. I think about my relationship with my husband and how I fought for us to be where we are today. We are a blended family, so it was there are many things that you have to overcome, and I feel that we overcame those. Also, in regards to illness, a couple months ago, came down with a sickness. We weren't sure what it was, and the doctors had thought that I possibly had liver cancer. Through the initial shock, I was scared to death. However, I went into fight mode just as Beth did when she had cancer. I decided that through all of that, I would fight for my family and fight for my husband and our relationship. And that's just what we did. However, my outcome was different. I did not end up having cancer, thankfully. But that fight mode did kick in for me as well. I think that Beth was an amazing, compassionate, and strong-willed woman who I admire so much. Beth fought for her life to make her life exactly what she wanted it to be, even through those extreme trials and tribulations. And I also admire her love for Dwayne and her fighting to have that love with Dwayne. Beth will always be remembered and admired for her strong willingness, her fight attitude, and her compassionate heart.